Increasingly dry conditions in parts of Northland and Waikato mean many farmers in those regions are facing hardship. Farmer finances are under stress, and to talk about how they can handle the pressure, I'm joined now by the Bankers Association Chief Executive, Kirk Hope. Hi there, Kirk.
Hi, Michael.
So what's your advice to farmers in these areas who are under stress?
Well, I think firstly, farmers are used to dealing with adverse weather conditions as part of what they do. But farmers who do find themselves in financial difficulties, we're encouraging them to talk to their bank as soon as possible. Rural account managers are pretty well versed in being able to assist farmers who find themselves in financial difficulty.
And what can the banks do to help?
Well, there's a range of measures. So, for example, banks may be able to reduce or suspend repayment on principal, but more importantly, I think the rural account managers can work with a farmer to develop a new cash flow program to take account of the reduction in production. And other types of advice that the rural bankers might be able to provide are where expenditure or capital expenditure most particularly is non-productive, to reduce that, and also to take non-breeding stock off the farm to allow pasture to be retained for breeding stock. So those are the types of measures that the banks can provide, and assistance that the banks can provide. Obviously, this is a much more localised drought than the drought last year, which was much more widespread and went for a much longer period of time.
In terms of the debt levels, I guess it's hard to be specific about the debt levels for farmers in these affected areas this year, but generally, what are debt levels like for farmers?
Sure. Well, certainly in the dairy sector, the growth in debt levels is moderated, and that might be as a result of the higher payout and farmers choosing to pay down debt. We've certainly seen that as a feature of the market over the last year or so.
And commodity prices have been fantastic, haven't they? Particularly that dairy price. So that should be helping, shouldn't it, for farmers to cope with this dry period?
Absolutely, and it should have stood them in good stead in terms of preparing for any adverse weather conditions that affect them.
Now, just looking quickly at the LVRs and the impact they're having for the banks and for the housing market, what's the latest news on that?
Well, the Reserve Bank released some figures on Wednesday which show the flows are at about 4.2% of new lending being in the over 80% LVR category. Now, that's something that we predicted would happen, and the reason for that is that banks are taking a bit of time to get used to the new regime, and also it is linked to their conditions of registration. So if they breach that 10% threshold, they do stand to be in breach of their license, for their banking license. So it's pretty important for them to be able to manage to quite a way under that 10%. But what I think you'll see in the market is, as they get used to managing their flows, then you'll see that figure move up to perhaps 8 to 9%.
Okay, thanks very much there. That's Kirk Hope, the Chief Executive of the Bankers Association. The declaration of a